Yeah. Yeah, she's back there.
Thank you for being patient. And I'm going to get out of here.
There you go. Back in. Perdonen que es así. ¿Sabe que lo pongo atrás? No le quiero faltar. Para nada. ¿Sabe que se me para al ladito de ella? Pero no atrás. No la ven. Así, pegaditos, pero no revueltos. Está bien, gracias. All right, my movement family. Are we fired up? Yeah. Fired up? Ready to go? Yeah. Y'all, I'm going to do it one more time. Fired up? Yeah. Ready to go. Thank you. I guess we're so fired up, the lights went out. Y'all, first and foremost, I'm going to practice our movement discipline. Mic check? Mic check. Mic check. Thank you. All right. My name is Ana Lilia Mejia, and I am so grateful to be in movement community with all of you. Give yourselves a round of applause for showing up for America, showing up for healthcare, showing up for justice, showing up for humanity, showing up for democracy, showing up, showing up, showing up, showing up. Yo, ooh. You get me so excited and fired up. Y'all, the bottom line for us is that we are the agents of change, waking up America and demanding that our legislators, that our representatives, that senators do their job on behalf of millions of Americans who will die without access to health care and, frankly, justice and freedom. Yes. What we fight for is humanity. What we fight for is justice. What we fight for is a popular democracy. All right? What we wage is a battle for not only the hearts and minds of our fellow Americans, but we must wake our communities up, and we must wake every single member of those legislative bodies to the consequence of destroying the lives of millions of people. So are you with me for that battle? Yes. Will you take it on?
Yes.
Like many of you, I have a Medicaid story. Like many Americans, I would be completely unable to care and work and care for my mother who has dementia and who, without Medicaid support, I would not be able to even stand here before you. Because the reality is, like many Americans, my family depends on access to good, affordable, accessible, and just health care. And so I join millions of Americans saying, we must kill this bill.
Kill this bill. Kill this bill.
And so this is a packed room, so I can't tell if I have my members of Congress here yet. So I am going to jump to my, oh, okay. Oh. All right. All right. So from the great state of Connecticut, right? All right, y'all. So we know that we do not stand alone in this fight. We know that we have representatives that are willing to stand up for human beings, for healthcare, for what is right, and for justice. And starting us up today, this morning, I have the honor and pleasure of introducing Senator Murphy from the great state of Connecticut, who is going to help us lead the charge. Lead the charge. Lead the charge. Thank you.
Thank you. Are you guys ready to kill this bill? Are you guys ready to speak truth to power? Listen, I am excited to be here with you today. And I want to tell you why. Listen, this is an amazing country we live in, a democracy in which the people are in charge, right? Not the elites, not the billionaires, not the corporations. As much power as they have, we are still in charge of this country, right? Politicians need to listen to us, because if they don't listen to us, they're going to get sent back home. And so this is the message that we need to send right now, today. What this bill represents is the biggest transfer of wealth from the poor and the middle class to the rich in the history of the country. Shame. Shame. Who's asking for that besides the billionaires and the corporations? I do this thing every year where I walk across the state. I take a week and I walk from one end of the state to the other, about 20 miles a day. And I'm, meeting people who don't pay attention to politics, but who have real problems, right? Who have real issues in their life. And I just finished that walk about 3 weeks ago. And not one single person of the hundreds I talked to over the course of that week asked me to pass a bill to throw 15 million people off of their health care in order to give a $270,000 tax cut to the richest Americans. Not a single person asked me to do that. Have you met anybody in your life who has asked you to go lobby Congress to pass a bill like that? No. Nobody wants that in this country. And so our work is about making sure that all those people that I talked to on that walk who, don't have a lobbyist, who, don't have the courage or the ability like you do to come up here and speak truth to power, our work, your work, is to make sure that all of those people, the 97% of Americans who don't want this bill to pass, to have a voice. And you're going to make sure that they have a voice, right? Okay. Let's just talk for a second about what happened today, to just give you a little example of how the folks that are pushing this bill know in their hearts what they're doing, and they're doing it anyway. So just about an hour ago, news broke that this Republican bill is going to include a $15 billion slush fund for rural hospitals. Okay, now why is that? It's because they know what's going to happen when they pass this bill. They know that it's not just that 15 million people are going to lose their health care. There are going to be hospitals and health care clinics and mental health addiction centers that are going to close their doors. So this bill doesn't just impact you if you lose your health care. This bill impacts you even if you keep your health care, even if you keep your Medicaid. Because when you withdraw $800 billion from the Medicaid system, the system starts to collapse. And so what they're doing now is they're going to set up a slush fund to be able to keep their hospitals open, right? To make sure that in the states of those senators and representatives who voted for this bill, maybe they'll be able to keep the services going. But if you're in a blue state or a purple state, good luck, because that slush fund, it isn't coming to you, right? That's just a different form of the corruption, right? It's a different form of the corruption. We take care of you if you're in this state, but we don't take care of you if you're in that state. But it's also evidence of the fact that they know what they're doing. Their eyes are wide open to the damage that they are about to do. But they're doing it because that's what's necessary in order to pad the pockets of the corporations, in order to pad the pockets of the billionaire class. They only see the world through their eyes. Okay, but here's what I also know. So I was in the Senate in 2017. Okay, now that's not that long ago. That's Donald Trump's first term. And their number one priority, and the same deal, they had control of the White House, they had control of the House and the Senate, but by very slim margins, similar to today. They have very slim margins in charge of the House and the Senate. And their number one priority in 2017 was to repeal Obamacare, repeal the Affordable Health Care bill, right? That mattered to many of the same people that are going to be impacted by this bill right now. And frankly, a lot of people told us it's not even worth your time to fight it because they've been running on repealing Obamacare since it passed. They've been running on that promise to repeal Obamacare for 10 years, and they just won everything. They're in charge of everything. Of course they're going to pass that bill. We said, no, they're not, right? No, they're not, because nobody wants that either. Nobody wants 20 million people to lose their health care. Nobody wants insurance companies to go back to being able to discriminate against you if you have a pre-existing condition or you're a woman or you have children. And so we did what you're doing right now. We organized. I remember the last week of that debate. It felt a lot like this. You couldn't go anywhere in the Capitol without running into somebody who was saying, hell no. You couldn't turn a corner in this complex without running into somebody who was going to be impacted by these cuts, who were willing to tell their story. And in the end, we defied the odds. In the end, just enough Republicans in the Senate said no. You remember that famous moment where John McCain walks into the chamber and votes no, that today, we still have Obamacare because we stood up and saved health care for 20 million Americans. So I will shut up and let others who have much more lived experience speak. But I just want to remind you that we have power and that recent history tells us that even when it feels like we're up against 0 hour, even when it feels like they're marshaling their final votes, nothing is over until it's over, especially when it comes to something this unpopular. So when I stand here with you, I feel power, I feel hopefulness. As much as I share how anxious and angry you are, I still wake up every day believing that Medicaid is worth saving, that people's lives are worth saving, that the stories you will tell here over the course of today and tomorrow and however long you can stay here will make a difference, and that in the end, I get it. It is not certain that we're going to win, but nothing important in this world is easy. Nothing important in this world is certain. But if we do the work, we're going to save a lot of lives. Thank you all for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
You know, the senator spoke about corruption and selective governance. It is corrupt to have an administration, to have governing bodies, to have a government who cherry picks its constituents for who is worthy of support, care, and justice, and who is deemed extraneous, who is marginalized, who is thrown away. We reject that idea that any of us are waste people. We reject the idea that every single one of us doesn't deserve dignity and justice from our own government. This is a government by the people. Now, corruption is a core marker, y'all, of authoritarianism, because the authoritarian is a corrupt actor that must shut down levers of public accountability in order to preserve themselves and their corruption. And so when we speak of saving democracy through this act of sharing our stories, what we are doing is upholding one of the key levers of power that preserve democracy and fights authoritarianism. Because the way in which we hold our government accountable is by having an informed populace. So thank you for what you are doing right now, but also I, as an organizer, here's the call to action, y'all. I am urging you when you go home, in fact, as you're driving, flying, taking a bus, whatever it is home, I want you to, on your way back, text at least 5 people. Tell them what's happening. No, I want more claps for that. Who's committing? Who's committing? Who's committing? Who's committing? Commit. Raise your hands. Do you commit? Do you commit? We are the power, my friends. We are it. We will tell America. We will tell our neighbors. We will make demands, and we will win. And one of the leaders is going to take us all the way there. I'm sorry, I was buying time. One of the leaders that is going to take us there is the incredible Megan Curran from Center on Poverty and Social Policy. Thank you, Megan. I want you to bring it and challenge us. Thank you.
Thank you so much. I'm not going to lie, those are hard acts to follow. Thank you to the senator. I'm from New York. I have many family members in Connecticut, and it's really great to hear such strong and passionate speech. My name is Megan Curran. I am a researcher. What I think I can bring here right now is setting the table a little bit, give you the evidence, know that everything that everyone is about to share with you in terms of their lived experience is actually exactly what we see in the data. It's real, it's true, and it needs to be heard. By nature, researchers tend to be fairly calm and measured folks. But to look at what is about to happen to our safety net, the harm that it will do to communities, to families, to children, is to be roused from our calm, is to be roused from our measure, and frankly, is to be riled up. I study poverty, I study taxes, I study the safety net at the Columbia University Center on Poverty and Social Policy. We track who is affected by poverty, who is affected by hardship in America, and how social policy decisions made locally, made at the state level, and made right here, most especially in the halls of Congress, impact Americans and how they fare on a day-to-day basis. We have studied aspects of this budget bill. We have found that it somehow manages to be the worst of both worlds. It spends an eye-watering amount, adding trillions to our debt, and it directs much of that money to the wealthiest while cutting critical services for low-income Americans and middle-income Americans. So many that you will hear from me right after will make plain the absolutely devastating consequences of cutting healthcare and food. Something like 1 in 5 children could lose their healthcare. Millions of children could lose SNAP, and as a byproduct, also lose their school meals. So that's groceries at home and meals when they're trying to learn in the school building. My colleagues at Columbia ran the numbers, and these cuts come at a very steep cost that we will not soon recoup. Every $1 in cuts to SNAP benefits for families with children that helps them buy groceries will cost us as a country collectively anywhere from $14 to $20 in negative economic costs in both the short term and the long term. Children and parents alike will be sicker. Parents will take a hit on their employment and their ability to work. When impacted children grow up, they will have done worse in school. They will get worse jobs, they will earn less, and they will be able to pay less tax back into the system. This is where these costs come from. These are the long-term effects of cutting things that help children and families now. We will spend more on child welfare, we will spend more on our healthcare system, we will spend more on criminal justice. None of these things are things that we want to do. The bill also makes a change to the child tax credit. On the face of it, it's a modest increase, ostensibly to just make up for lost value because there's been inflation in the last few years. A closer look reveals that even this policy, which appears to be a nod to families, a nod to recognizing maybe we should do something for kids, a closer look at this reveals that it would exclude the children who could benefit from it the most. My colleagues and I have studied the child tax credit for years and years. We have shown that it has an upside-down structure. It provides the full benefit, sometimes thousands of dollars, to families that earn all the way up to $400,000 a year in income. The kids who receive a partial credit, or sometimes none at all, are kids and families who earn around $60,000 or less. Parents working really hard, minimum wage or even more, and still are not eligible for the child tax credit because we don't have a structure that makes sense for families. Right now, the child tax credit leaves 1 out of every 4 children in the country behind. The House bill that we saw pass recently would leave even more children out. 1 out of every 3 children would be left behind. This is because it would increase the credit amount without expanding eligibility, forcing a 2-adult and 2-child family to have to actually earn $12,000 more than they do now just to get $1,000 more in the child tax credit. This is math that makes no sense. You don't have to have a researcher explain that to you. It's pretty obvious. The approach to what this type of provision in the bill does is it actually just doubles down on the backwards priorities of the bigger bill as a whole. Because the 1 out of every 3 children that will be left out of the child tax credit are the same exact children that are at risk of losing their health care and their food assistance and their school meals. Even worse, the child tax credit provisions place an additional target on children in immigrant families. It would would kick children who currently get the child tax credit off millions of US citizen children who happen to have a parent who does not have a Social Security number. What I just want to leave you with here today is just to say that it does not have to be this way. We know this, everyone in the room here knows this is why you're here. But I just want to arm you with the decades and decades of evidence of people who have studied and published papers on this in journals that no one will ever see, but have dedicated their lives to understanding the data that comes out in the census and all of these types of surveys, that the evidence shows us what works. And researchers can talk to you about that evidence all day long. And if anyone needs me to show up and provide you with the data, I'm happy to do so. You can reach me at Columbia. What the evidence tells us is that investing in children's healthcare and nutrition works. Making sure that children and families' basic needs are met works. It makes us as a whole a healthier, a safer, a more productive society. We saw actually some of this in action in 2021. We actually had, for a temporary period of time, an expanded child tax credit that was a higher amount, but it included all of the low and moderate income children currently left out. What happened? Child poverty hit a historic low, even in the middle of a pandemic, a global pandemic. Hunger dropped. Families said themselves in interview after interview after interview, maybe some of you here today experienced it. Families said that they felt better while the expanded child tax credit and other supports were in place. They felt better financially and they were less stressed. Investments like these can produce huge rates of return. Every $1 of our public dollars, of our public money that goes to something like an expanded child tax credit that includes kids, returns us $10 every single year in positive economic benefits. It's the opposite of what we're seeing at the moment. We know what works. We can do better. We are better as a nation than what the policies in this current proposal would have us do. Our communities, our families, and our children deserve and depend on us to follow the evidence and invest in their futures. I'm so grateful to be here with all of you today. Thank you so much for your inspirational action and energy. And thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Megan. You know, Megan, you spoke about hunger. I want you to raise your hand if you at some point have known hunger. Raise your hand if you at some point denied yourself health care because you couldn't afford it. Now raise your hand if you're going to do something about it. Y'all, like Megan shared, when I was a child, I knew hunger. I remember that feeling, opening the refrigerator and seeing that it was empty. I remember those sad Thursdays or the end of the month when things ran out and you had to make do because you had to wait for either the check or frankly the food stamps to be able to make ends meet. I recall that as a child, and when I was freed of that pressure as a child, I was able to dream about what I could be in this world. And one of the things, in fact, the thing that made the difference in my family was when my mom, a lady garment worker, became a unionized lady garment worker. And all of a sudden, there was chicken. And so I am grateful to the power the labor movement has brought to my life, and I am so grateful for the power the labor movement is bringing to this fight. And so I am glad to introduce a leader, an executive vice president of the incredible union that I also call home forever, SEIU. Please give it up for Leslie Frane.
Thank you. So thank you so much for that introduction. How are you all doing this morning? You know, I just came over from the Capitol, where I met with some senators and did a press conference with them, and that was really great. We have some great champions in the Democratic leadership and the Democratic Party, but you know what? They're not the ones who are going to make us win this fight. It's the people in this room who are going to make us win this fight. And there is nothing like being in a room of activists to raise my spirits, so thank you very much. Thank you for everything you do. Thank you for the sacrifices that you made to come here today. I know it wasn't easy, and I know this weather ain't the best. But together, we are going to win this fight. And whether we win it in the short run by defeating this bill, or we win it in the long run by returning sanity to our democracy, it's just a question of which way we win. So I want to appreciate not just the SEIU members who are here, but all of our allies. I see Planned Parenthood. I see Center for Popular Democracy. I'm not going to call everybody out because I would never get all of the amazing allies, advocates, and activists who are here today and who I know are fighting all over the country, holding vigils, doing marches, doing rallies, having protests, writing letters, doing texts, using social media, telling your stories, holding elected officials accountable. It is that activist energy that we need to turn our country around. So thank you for everything that you do. You know, 600 of SEIU members came to DC this week, members coming from as far away as Alaska and Florida, Los Angeles, and to Boston, and they came together to demand accountability from our elected officials. Because what we know, and we all know this, is that the budget bill that is being considered in Congress, it's really not a budget. It is a full-out assault on working people. And you know, the Republicans have had Medicaid in their crosshairs from day one. And I want to talk about why. Because yes, it is partly because that's where the money is, and they want to save the money so that they can give it in tax breaks to the wealthy. But it is also because they don't give a damn about the people who rely on Medicaid for their health care. Why? Because it's working people, it's poor people, it's a lot of people of color, it's seniors, it's people with disability. It is the most vulnerable people in our society, and the leaders of the Republican Party and those who follow them blindly are willing to throw those people right under the bus. For all of us, this fight is very personal. And I want to tell the story of one of our members, a member who works in a nursing home in Pennsylvania named Carlos Nieves. And Carlos works in a nursing home, and he understands that if these cuts go through, it'll affect his livelihood, because less money for the state of Pennsylvania for Medicaid means less money for nursing homes. That's going to affect staffing levels. That's going to affect what happens in contract negotiations and his ability to continue earning a living on which he can support his family. That's going to affect all of those things. But you know, that's not what Carlos worries most about. What Carlos worries most about is the effect on the residents of his nursing home, who rely on the loving care that he provides day in and day out in order to have a quality life. And what he cares most about is his mom, who is on Medicaid and relies on Medicaid for the asthma medication that she needs to keep going day in and day out. And Carlos's story is unique because everybody's story is different, but it is not unusual. There are lots of Carloses out there, and in fact, there are 16 million Carloses out there because that's the number of people who will lose health care if this big, bad, atrocious bill is passed by Congress. And all of it is to pay for tax cuts for the wealthy. If this bill passes, it would be the largest transfer of wealth from working people to the affluent in the history of our nation. I want to say that again. It would be the largest transfer of wealth from working people to rich people in the history of our country. And the fundamental immorality of that wealth shift is just mind-boggling. That's why this fight won't end when this vote is over. We are going to take it back home. We are going to tell the human stories of the impact that these cuts will have, and we will work, all of us together, all across the country, relentlessly to ensure that the elected officials who vote to withhold health care from 16 million people in this country are held accountable. Because what we all know is that health care should never be a privilege. It should be a basic human right, and we are going to fight for it. And we are going to keep that fight going, doing whatever it takes for as long as it takes, because we know that when we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. Thank you very much.
I told y'all together we're going to fight and we're going to win. I have to say, y'all, again, we have incredible leaders, champions, folks who are willing to stand with the people. And I have to tell you, I was kind of surprised they make them this spicy in Oregon. And so it is my privilege to introduce someone that is fired up, ready to go to fight alongside all of us, the incredible senator from the great state of Oregon, Senator Wyden. Thank you.
Thank you. And I was told to come down and work you all up into a ton of excitement. But you're already there, right? All right. Here's where we are. And I'm the point person for the Democrats in this fight. And it's the most important fight I've ever been in, because this battle this week is going to determine the future of American healthcare. Are you for caviar or kids? Yes. Are you for Mar-a-Lago or the middle class? Middle class. Are you for hedge funds or health care? Health care. All right, I'm starting to like this poll. I know what side you're on. Now we got to make sure that a whole lot of Senate Republicans make the right choice too. Huh? That's right. All right. The bill that's coming up, not real hard to explain, biggest cut in Medicaid history. Devastating the hospitals, the nursing homes, kids with disabilities, working families trying to get by. You know what Mehmet Oz told me? You all heard of him, huh? I was concerned about cuts in our nursing homes in terms of staff. He said, don't worry about that. We got AI. And I said, are you kidding me? How is AI going to help an 85-year-old woman in the middle of the night trying to get to a bathroom? That's what we're up against. So what these Republicans are talking about is taking away healthy food from hungry kids. And why? Why is all this suffering going on? In order to give tax breaks to the people at the very top. You know, there are really two tax codes in America. One's a tax code for working people, and they take it out of every paycheck. It's called the FICA. You know, it's right there on your check. And then there's another tax system for the ultra wealthy who call up their accountants and their lawyers and say, make sure I don't pay any income taxes this year. So that's what this is about. And I'll tell you, as the point guy for the Democrats on taxes, I think this is the most morally bankrupt bill I've ever seen. So here's where we are. We got to go out and win this fight by showing the Republican senators and Americans across the country how the bill is going to harm the neighbors and communities. And my God, have they gone to great lengths to keep America from knowing what's really in it. Did you hear early on they said don't do town hall meetings? Don't do town hall meetings. What do you get an election certificate for? To do town hall meetings and get out and listen. So I'll close with this. Leslie and some of our people, we really glad that they have Oregon roots and Oregon connections, because back home we know that political change doesn't start in a government building in Washington, D.C. It starts at the grassroots. So for the next few days, because we could be voting on this as soon as this weekend, next couple days, we don't know. But what we got to do is we got to make the calls, we got to send the texts, we got to go into the neighborhoods. Let's go out there and put every ounce of our strength in this. We are going to stay at it until we win. Let's start winning this weekend. God bless. Thank you. God bless.
Thank you. Was I right? Was I right? I told you. They make them spicy in Oregon. I told y'all. You know what? All I hear is our government, our rules. Our government, our rules, and also my body, my rules, and I know that I got a sister from another mister leading an entire cadre, an entire army of people who are holding this down. Not only access to health care, but the fundamental right every human being has to their body. And so I am so grateful for this incredible leader who I depend on, for not only myself, but future generations, my nieces, the children that come after us. Thank you, the incredible, awesome Alexis McGill from Planned Parenthood.
I am fired up, y'all. Just look at this beautiful room. Give yourselves a round of applause. What you are here to do today is so critically important. Let me tell you, every story that you tell is an act of defiance against this big, bad betrayal of a bill. That's right. Every time you show up in front of your senator, in front of your congressman, and you tell them they cannot take away your dignity, they cannot take away your humanity, they cannot take away your freedom, they cannot take away access to Medicaid, they cannot take away the care that we need for our bodies and our futures and our lives. Every time you show up, that's a fight for freedom. Give yourselves a round of applause. There are so many of us out here, not just in this room, but in these hallways, the lines just coming in. Do you know what that is? That is about us saying we are going to make the decisions, that we decide. When I say who decides? We decide. Who decides? We decide. That is so important. I don't see any billionaires walking around saying, let me keep my yacht. Right? They're not in there saying, why don't you take away access to STI testing treatment and access to contraception so I can keep my private plane, because they think they have already bought and paid for the people in this building. But who do they work for? Us! That's right. Let me tell you how important it is to be here in this moment from Planned Parenthood's perspective. Yesterday was the 3-year anniversary of the deadly Dobbs decision, of the disastrous Dobbs decision that has literally put our lives on the line. Literally put our lives on the line. In this bill, in this big bad betrayal of a bill, there is a provision to defund Planned Parenthood. Shame. 1 in 2 of our patients, half of all of our patients rely on Medicaid to get access to care. And what they would do would actually put at risk 200 of our 600 health centers across this country. A third of all of our health centers could be closed, and there's nowhere for our patients to go to be absorbed into the system. That puts at risk access to contraception, breast exams, cancer exams, wellness exams, access to STI testing and treatment, just to give billionaires a tax break? Really? Is that what we're doing? No! And here's the kicker, right? For those 1 million patients who rely on on that care, 90% of those health centers are actually in states with abortion access. So we need to call this what it is, which is a backdoor abortion ban. And it does not actually create any savings. It increases the deficit by $300 million. So we are clear, this is just a plan, a targeted attack to defund a political opponent, a targeted attack to take away access to abortion, a targeted attack to put more pain and burden on the people who least deserve it, a targeted attack to take away Medicaid from our communities, from our families, from our lives. And are we gonna take it? No! So here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna kill this bill. Leslie already said, when we fight, we win. When we tell our stories, we win. When we call our congressmen, we win. When we remind them that they work for us, we win. We are going to show up and show out. Thank you for everything you're doing. Let's get this done.
Thank you. I'm sorry for dropping the Johnson, Alexis. Menopause brain is real, y'all. All right. You know, the way in which we are going to build our path to freedom and justice is through our stories. And so I am grateful to have people who have been bold enough to come all the way to DC, all the way to Washington, DC, to not only share their stories, but have an impact on every other American in this nation. And so I am so grateful to be able to first call up all the way from the state of Alaska, y'all, Sarah Krug, who is going to share her story on how this bill is detrimental to all of our lives. Please. Thank you. Hello. Thank you, Sarah.
Hi, I came all the way from Alaska, and I want to make sure people know cutting Medicaid is cold, even for an Alaskan. My name is Sarah Krug, and I'm a lifelong caregiver, as a passion, a profession, and as a mother. I live in Anchorage, Alaska, and for the past 20 years, I've fought to ensure that my family gets the care it needs to survive. I'm here today to share what Medicaid has meant for my family and to urge you to protect this lifeline for families like mine. I have 3 children, 2 diagnosed with significant disabilities, and 1 just as deserving of health care, even if her needs were never severe enough to result in a diagnosis. I want to talk about Zach. Zach was born after a traumatic delivery resulting in a diagnosis of cerebral palsy. Cerebral palsy affects his movement, coordination, posture, speech, swallowing, and so much more. From the start, his life depended on specialized care, therapy, medical equipment, and around-the-clock assistance. 1 week before he was born, I was approved for Denali Kid Care, Alaska's Medicaid program for children and pregnant women. That coverage saved his life. Zach spent 6 weeks in the NICU. As he grew, his medical needs stayed extensive. Weekly therapy, monthly specialist visits, daily and home support needs, and I had to leave college and quit my job to care for him. Then my life took another unexpected turn. I became a single mother overnight. Suddenly, I was solely responsible for my 3 kids. I juggle work in special education, as a personal care assistant, and cleaning. I work 80 to 100 hours a week, and this barely allows me to provide for my family. In January of 2023, our world turned upside down again. Zach developed a sudden and severe neurological condition. His body locked in spasms, and he suffered from delirium. He was hospitalized for weeks at a time over about 8 months. Losing motor function he'd worked for years to develop. We're now working hard to help Zach regain his lost independence. Zach's survival depends on access to direct care around the clock with daily tasks such as showering, incontinence, support, feeding tubes, medication, specialized equipment, as well as other hygiene and personal care needs, as well as ongoing therapy support with simple things like communication and self-help skills to help him interact with the world and gives him a chance to thrive. Despite needing access to care around the clock, he only qualifies for a fraction of those hours. The rest of his care is provided unpaid by family due to lack of qualified caregivers and various Medicaid restrictions. My private insurance covers a great deal of his medical needs, but not everything, and copays add up quickly. I would like you to also consider that within a few years' time, Zachary will age out of the ability to stay on my health insurance, yet won't be able to maintain a full-time employment with health care benefits, leaving Medicaid as his only lifeline to this essential medical care. People talk about Medicaid as if it's riddled with fraud and waste. They imagine people taking advantage of the system, but they don't see families like mine, families that work hard, yet barely stay above water, good people fighting every day to support and care for their loved ones at home. Zach's not just a number on a budget sheet. He's a bright, vibrant young man who loves history, music, and animals. He deserves to live with dignity, just like everybody else. But without Medicaid, he could be without essential care and forced into an institution where he'd just be another case file, not a person with dreams, interests, or independence. Cerebral palsy affects Zach's ability to move his body, but it doesn't affect his personality or potential. Medicaid is essential to cover the extensive extra needs Zachary has to survive and thrive within his community in Alaska. When politicians argue against Medicaid, they fail to see the human cost. If Medicaid's cut, families like mine will be forced to go bankrupt trying to provide care. Loved ones will be sent to underfunded institutions instead of staying in their homes. Thousands will simply fall through the cracks, left without the care they need to survive. Healthcare is an essential human right. I'm asking you today to protect Medicaid and ensure that it's strengthened for families like mine. Remember, any of us at any moment could find ourselves in need of this kind of care. Gutting Medicaid doesn't just balance the budget, it destroys lives. Thank you for allowing me to come share my story.
Thank you. Give it up for Sarah. Y'all, it takes bravery. It takes bravery to come up and share your story. So I want to thank everyone who is prepared to take that bold step on behalf of all of us. Next, I want to call up someone that is brave and bold and ready to share, Madeline G., who is representing Planned Parenthood Action Fund as a patient advocate. Please, Madeline, join us.
Before Madeline, if there is a Senate staffer in the room, please see me in the back.
Madeline!
Thank you. Thank you all for letting me come share my story. Like they said, my name is Madeline. I live in Olympia, Washington. I live in Olympia, Washington.
We're going to change the conditions so that they work for you.
Oh, thank you.
There we go.
I moved to Washington in 2016, and I was going to Evergreen State College. I graduated in 2019, and I had a degree in business management and marketing. I was unable to find a job in that field, so I took a full-time job as a front desk receptionist at a hotel. This came with absolutely no benefits. I was in good health, so I didn't really think or care about needing health insurance until I had a pregnancy scare and I realized that I needed to get back on birth control. I knew that Planned Parenthood could help me. I had been a patient on and off throughout high school, thanks to a friend's mom who took me when I felt like I couldn't talk to my parents about it. The Olympia Planned Parenthood was close by, but I wasn't sure how I was going to pay for it or how much it would cost. But I made that appointment, and I hoped for the best. When I checked in for my appointment, the front desk receptionist told me that I could be eligible for Apple Health, which is Washington State's Medicaid program. I signed up online, and luckily my appointment was covered. It was a huge relief. Getting Medicaid also meant that I could proactively take care of myself. At Planned Parenthood, I got my first pelvic exam, and I was able to go in every 3 months to get my birth control shot. During one of those quarterly visits, my then boyfriend came along, and despite his protests, the nurse made him leave the exam room for a little bit. She then asked me if everything was all right at home and asked questions about how my, sorry.
Okay, you got this!
They asked me how my then boyfriend was treating me, how things were at home. They were the first to clock how bad and unhealthy that relationship was. It was very eye-opening for me at the time. Medicaid and Planned Parenthood gave me the birth control that I needed to keep me from being tied to an abusive man for the rest of my life. They also gave me the resources that I need to be able to leave him when I was ready. Medicaid and Planned Parenthood were the safety net that I didn't know that I needed, and now I get to be part of the safety net for others. I'm a coordinator at a residential services agency supporting adults with disabilities, and I'm in school to become a nurse. With the proposed Senate bill, of course, I am worried for people who currently rely on Medicaid and Planned Parenthood. But I am terrified for the people who don't know that they may need Medicaid or Planned Parenthood one day. What are these people going to do if that safety net does disappear? As we keep fighting against any cuts to Medicaid and attempts to defund Planned Parenthood, I want you to keep my story in mind. And remember that you have loved ones who have stories like mine, and you're fighting for them too. Thank you.
All right, y'all. I just got word that we can't yell, but we sure can clap. So can we clap loud, please? There is no silencing justice. There is no silencing us, but let's clap and not yell, because I wanted to be able to continue. All right, listen. They try to change the conditions, but we adapt. All right? All right, y'all. So continuing and sharing with bravery and boldness. Madeline, thank you for your story. Sarah, thank you for your story. And I want to proactively thank Mike for his story, because it's our stories that make the difference. Now, Mike, share and tell us, what is the impact and how we can band together to protect not only ourselves, our communities, humanity, and our entire nation? Mike, give it up.
Well, after I explain all that, what do you want me to do in the next 30 seconds?
No pressure.
Yeah, here, let's just kind of so can you hear me okay? Yes. So my name is Mike Oxford. I'm with ADAPT. I must have been late to a meeting and got volunteered to have to do the speech. So I'm here, and I'm glad to be back from retirement. We're really glad to be here with you all, because one thing that we know is that we are stronger together. The hurdles that we're facing are really high. Okay, I'm an upful, hopeful person, but I mean, you know what? It ain't looking so good. Okay, so we can't give in to that, and we've got to fight back. Our organization, ADAPT, has been around for 50 years. It's led by people with disabilities. It's led by people with the most significant disabilities, most of whom have been institutionalized and gotten out. The stuff we're fighting for, the kind of health care, the kind of long-term services, the kind of housing, the kind of well-paid workers with benefits and paid days off that we want. Hello, SEIU, we want what you want. So those are the things that we're fighting for them, and we have for 50 years, because we had to get ourselves out of the institutions. We had to serve ourselves. We invented this stuff. People with this we invented our own programs. And to skip ahead to the billionaires, as soon as they got worth money, and money started coming into it, they all got taken away by the insurance companies and the hedge funds, who are now already backing us off because the cuts are, I'm not supposed to yell, am I? Oops! Already happening. I'm sorry, I'm sort of ornery. So, they're already happening, folks. Do not believe a word of what you're hearing about. It's all about the others. We're just going to hurt those others, not good people like you and me. We are the others. We're all the same. So that's all I want to say is we've been fighting for years for stuff we invented so we can control our own lives. We are not backing up. I've been fighting this myself over 40 years. I've probably been arrested 100 times. I don't even know. Most of our people here have already been arrested 3 times in like the last month. Okay, so when we go down, I mean, it gets a little more complicated. I'm just trying to share our passion because it is all of our lives. And it's our very freedom and our very dignity. And if we got to spend the night in jail and be uncomfortable and not get our meds and kind of get jerked around, which is what's fixing to happen, we've been doing this for 40 years. And we love you all for being here and for helping taking this up. And if I can say everyone younger than me, which is most of you, thank you. Thank you for picking this up. We love you.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I mean, can we turn around to our folks and be like, thank you? Y'all, together we can. This bill makes zero economic sense. Zero. This bill only makes sense to the wealthy and well-connected who are, in effect, siphoning, stealing from the public good in order to line their pockets. Y'all, that's on brand. But you know what else is on brand? Our dignity, our valor, and our fire. And so are we still with it? You got to clap and not yell. But are you still with it? All right. And when you got the mic, you can yell and you just say it's the mic. Yeah. All right, so I'm gonna bring up, again, someone that's gonna break down just how illogical economically this bill in fact is. Someone that is always ready, willing to inform and to engage and to fight together. I am so glad and proud to introduce Adam Rubin from Economic Security Project Action. In action.
You have my sign up on the talking. Thank you. Republicans are stealing from working and middle-class families to enrich their billionaire donors. They are coming after Medicaid. They're coming after food security. They are strangling the Affordable Care Act. They are shoving more children into poverty, all to deliver more tax breaks to their billionaire donors and wealthy corporations. Republicans are showing us their true priorities. They don't care about bringing down the cost of living. They don't care about our basic needs. Their plans make it even harder for families to pay bills and put food on the table. They promise to fight for American families, but instead they are attacking us. The Republicans' child tax credit proposal permanently kicks out millions of U.S. citizen kids in mixed status families, and it doesn't do anything for 17 million low-income and working-class kids who are locked out of the full credit because their families earn too little. And that means that this child tax credit could push 2 million kids into poverty or deeper into poverty. It is a gut punch to struggling parents. It's a 1-2 punch because the same families who are going to be hurt by that proposal are the same ones who are going to feel the pain of the biggest cuts to health care and food security in U.S. history. And at the same time, they're effectively repealing the Affordable Care Act, Obamacare, yanking health care away from 16 million people, driving up costs for all of us, and drowning families in insurance red tape. Under the Republican tax plan, families who are earning under $200,000 will pay more in taxes or get no tax cut at all. But the millionaires get an average tax cut of $100,000 each, and this must not stand. Under Trump and the Republicans, it is a great time to be a billionaire, and it is a lousy time to be a working-class family struggling to get by and put food on the table. But it doesn't have to be this way. We can forge a better path forward. Democrats must oppose this legislation that hands new tax breaks to greedy billionaires and wealthy corporations at the expense of families and workers and the most vulnerable, right? Instead, we need to put money back into working and middle-class families' pockets to help with rising costs by increasing the child tax credit and the earned income tax credit to help families with food and rent, by expanding health care, by improving access to child care and elder care and housing and much more, right? Right. To bring down costs, we need to rein in the giant corporations that are raising prices and ripping us off. We need to shut down the tax loopholes that let giant corporations dodge what they owe and run roughshod over working people, right? Right. This fight is about whose side we're on and whose side they are on. People are tired of an economic system that is rigged against families and favors those at the very top, and that is exactly what this Republican plan is, and it must not stand, because you can clap with me this time. When we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. When we fight, we win. All right.
Thank you. I told y'all, we got the best crew, team. We got the best crew. All right. Y'all, we have a couple more stories to share. And then fired up, we're gonna close with instruction on what we're doing next. So stay with me. I told y'all, we have leaders that are so big, brave, bold, and generous that they traveled from across the country to be able to share their story. One of those incredible leaders who is an activist, an organizer, a leader, a member leader in the organization Action NC from the great state of North Carolina. It is my privilege to introduce Miss Sarita Russell. Come on, Sarita. Tell us what's up. Hello. Are we ready to fight?
Hi, I'm Sarita, a member of Action NC, and I'm here to talk about a vital safety net program on the Republicans' chopping block in this big, awful bill, SNAP. It's the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program. It doesn't just put food on the table, it preserves dignity, supports families, and strengthens the very fabric of our communities. Can y'all hear me? Because I'm losing my voice. And the wealthiest nation on earth, this is the wealthiest nation on earth that we live in, right? Millions of American families face an impossible choice every month. Pay the bill or buy grocery. Heat the home or feed the children. Get your medication or go without them. This isn't a choice any family should have to make, yet it's the harsh reality for countless households across our great nation. I want to share my own story with you today because I represent millions of American families who depend on SNAP to survive. My SNAP benefits were cut from $440 to just $54 last month. When I asked why, I was told it was because there was an extra $1,000 coming into my household. But that extra $1,000 is Social Security that belongs to my baby, my 14-month-old baby. Money that rightfully belongs to my child because I worked 40 years for it. Let me paint the picture of my financial reality for you. My rent is $1,984 per month, and I receive only $2,000 per month. That leaves me just $16 for everything else I have to pay. My utility bill, water bill, gas bill, and car insurance because it is mandatory, right? If you want to drive. Now let me tell you, what can I do with $54 in SNAP? How am I supposed to buy enough food for my family with that amount of money for a whole month? But this isn't just about my family. In Charlotte, North Carolina, SNAP cuts will devastate our entire community. Our churches, which already struggles to keep their food pantries stocked, will be overwhelmed as more families turn to them for help. Our schools will see more children coming to class hungry, unable to focus on learning. Our homelessness population will grow more as families are forced to choose between rent or food. That ain't right. The vast majority of SNAP households include children elderly individuals, our people with disabilities. These are our neighbors, our fellow Americans who deserve our support, not our judgment. The Republicans are planning to take away health care and food assistance from tens of millions just so wealthy people and corporations can get a huge tax break. That ain't right. We're here to say loud and clear today, listen, put our health over their wealth. Cuts to Medicaid and SNAP don't just affect numbers in a budget. They affect real people, real families, real children who will go to bed hungry or not get the health care they need. We are a great nation that has always prided itself on helping those in need. When disasters strike, Americans open their hearts and their wallets. When neighbors struggle, communities rally together. Medicaid and SNAP represents this spirit on a national scale. It's American at its most compassionate and practical. These programs aren't just a line item, they're a lifeline. Every dollar invested in health care and food assistance is an investment in American families, American children, and American communities. I call upon each and every one of you elected officials to remember this, to remember the faces behind the numbers. Remember me trying to stretch $54 across a month for groceries for my family. Remember the children who rely on school meals because there isn't enough food at home. And to those of you who are up for re-election this November, we will remember you. And we will remember how you voted. Families like mine will remember who stood with us in our time of need, or who turned their backs on struggling Americans. Your vote on Medicaid and SNAP funding will be remembered at the ballot box. The question before us isn't whether we can afford to maintain these essential programs, it's whether we can't afford them. Let us choose passion over cutbacks. Let us choose investment in families over our scarcity. That hurts the most valuable. Let us choose to be the American that our best values call us to be. A nation where everyone has a fair chance, not just to survive, but also to thrive. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. And when we put humanity to these cuts, these issues, it transforms everything. So I want to thank everyone that is big and bold and brave to tell their stories, like Sarita. Thank you. Yes, thank you. I want to now call Norma Lynn Huffman. I told y'all, from the great state of Arkansas, who for the longest I used to say Arkansas, but all right, now I'm on Arkansas, who's going to share their story. My sister from another mister as well, Norma Lynn Huffman. Thank you, from Arkansas Community Organizations. Y'all, again, it takes bravery. It takes power. We can't yell, but we can clap. Are you with me?
Thank you, honey, for that introduction. That was awesome. So, yeah, my name is Norma Huffman. I am with Arkansas Community Organizations. I am the Southwest Little Rock chapter president. Can anybody, just show of hands, remember what you did July 11th, 2017? Anyone? You do? That was the day I was diagnosed with multiple sclerosis. 6 weeks after I buried my father. That was also when I got laid off of my job with their excuse of, I missed too much work. Lie and a half. I was there every single day. Didn't matter if I was sick or not. I had a 10-year-old I had to take care of. He was and still is my entire world. I didn't have to depend on government assistance back then. I had an awesome job. I enjoyed it. First time ever I actually enjoyed a job, okay? When they found out that I had multiple sclerosis, they fired me. They won against the unemployment. Now I owe the state of Utah $6,000 that they will never see because I'm not giving it to them. It will be 8 years next month. Ever since then, I now have to depend on government assistance. Housing, Medicaid, food stamps. I'm now permanently disabled. So I also have Social Security, disability, and Medicare. I was recently diagnosed with fibromyalgia as well as rheumatoid arthritis. Guys, I am 41 years old. I'm also a type 2 diabetic. You see this cane? It's not mine, it's a friend of mine. But I have to use it. I was sitting in that chair in excruciating pain, trying not to cry. Okay? I ended up doing Arkansas housing. Okay? Arkansas housing is a joke. Apartments are so bad. The first apartment I was able to get into after moving back to Little Rock from Salt Lake City made me bedridden. I was in the hospital 4 times in 1 year, and those were overnight stays. I ended up having to have the fire department literally carry me out on a tarp. I was in so much pain. I was completely and totally embarrassed. Food stamps, Medicaid, housing, millions of people rely on it. Of course, I do as well. They keep cutting my food stamps. They are threatening to cut all my food stamps off if I keep my son on my contract. So he ended up moving out. He's actually not that far. He's still in the same complex. But housing and food stamps and Medicaid, if this bill passes, it's going to literally kill. It's going to put us back into the Depression days. I've got grandparents that lived those days. It's not going to be good. It's going to affect everybody in this country. May not be directly, but everybody's going to end up affected by this. So we need to make sure that this bill does not pass. When we fight, thank you.
Thank you. Y'all, we got 2 more stories and closing out, but remember the human face, the human impact, and listening and engaging with other human beings with dignity is both what we demand and what we must do. and helping lead that, not only as a member and an activist and a leader in Debt Collective, but also as a healthcare provider and someone that is leading the charge in community and in this big, giant fight. I want to introduce Dr. Rochelle Brooks, who's going to fire us up, give us some information, and get us ready. Yeah, let's go. Dr. Brooks.
Hey, y'all, I'm actually a doctor of education, but I can't save your life, not in that way. But yeah, I'm Dr. Rochelle Brooks of the Debt Collective. Hey, I'm a mama. I'm from LA. I'm sure y'all have seen us in the news. We turn up a little bit in LA. I've used Planned Parenthood. I've used SNAP. I've had Section 8. I've used Medicaid. These cuts are deeply personal to me, but I'm also an organizer. I'm also an educator, right? So it's personal to me, but I'm also here to fight for the people that I love. I'm here to fight for my community, and I'm here to tell the story of everybody who this is gonna affect. I don't think people understand it, right? This bill is a violent attack. It's an attack against poor people. It's an attack against working class people. It's a violent attack against single mothers like myself, working 2 to 3 jobs to keep our children fed, a roof over their heads, and their medical needs met. It's a violent attack against our children of undocumented folks in our communities that seek refuge as a direct result of this country's pillaging, oppression, and destruction. It's violence against your family member that requires extensive medical care to survive. It's violence against you and me, and we will not stand by and do nothing. We're here today, y'all, me. We're here because we're fighting back. This is a fight for our humanity. This is a fight for our survival, and we are coming out swinging. The proposed cuts to Medicaid and ACA aren't just line items on a budget. These cuts are death sentences. Trump is proposing $1.4 trillion in cuts, $793 billion from Medicaid alone, and $293 billion from ACA. This will result in 10.9 million people immediately losing their health insurance. If this bill is passed and its rules are codified, this will cause mass loss of insurance for many people in need for years to come. It's not just gonna affect us now, it's gonna affect us later. This bill doesn't just remove care from those in need and who need access to it most, it adds barriers to access for everyone. They're intentionally attacking Medicaid and benefits like SNAP, Pell Grants, and programs like public service loan forgiveness because they are the last remaining examples of what access to reparative public goods can look like in this country. They don't want us to think that we have a right to health care. They don't want us to believe that we have a right to public goods. They want us to believe that we need to earn the access for our basic needs to be met with our labor, with our compliance, and with our silence. That's a fascist empire at work. So what is this bill gonna look like in our daily lives? How are we gonna feel it? It's gonna mean that families have to max out credit cards. It's gonna mean we have to drain retirement accounts, take out payday loans, just to be able to afford insulin, surgeries, or chemotherapy for our children or our aging parents. It's a system that would rather see you in debt than to see you alive. I'm gonna repeat that because I'm from the Debt Collective and that's imperative to understand. This system would rather see you in debt than to see you alive. What's so insidious about this bill is that it's designed to steal. It's designed to extract resources from us, to not only make the rich richer, but it's also a fascist blank check aiming to turn federal law enforcement into a machine of surveillance, carcerality, anti-immigrant enforcement. We're seeing it all over the news. We're seeing it happen in our lives. The fight for public goods like education, like housing, like healthcare, and freedom from ICE abductions, right? Freedom from genocide, freedom from warmongering imperialist Zionists. This is not a singular fight. The struggle is interrelated. It's interconnected. They're bleeding our communities to deepen the portfolio of billionaires. I mentioned I have kids, right? I have a daughter. I have two daughters. One I flew from LA with, who's 1 year old. That was not an easy task. But then the other, yeah, no problem. Thank you. The other one is 17. She's at neuroscience camp today, right? She's at UCLA. She's one of the most ambitious, one of the most brilliant minds that I know. She's an all-around, she's a beautiful person. She wants to go to UCLA and become an anesthesiologist. I have $250,000 in student loan debt. I'm a student debt striker, so I'm not paying it. But when I think about what that means, I have to wonder how I'm going to allow her or how I'm going to provide for her to be able to afford her dreams. I have no idea how I'm going to do that. I was hopeful we were headed in the right direction with the last administration, being able to cancel student loan debt and work towards free public college education for all, removing barriers that prevent little Black girls from Compton, like my daughter, from achieving their dreams, and serving their communities through providing accessible health care. Zip codes should not be a predictor of whether or not someone is able to afford college. My baby's Blackness should not be a barrier for her being able to afford her dreams that she's worked so hard for. These cuts will only widen racial disparity gaps. It will result in the resegregation of higher education. These cuts will force states to redirect funding away from public universities to help fill some of these Medicaid funding gaps. Departments at your local universities are going to close. Campuses will be shuttered. Poor students will be forced to take on more private and predatory loans. Pell Grants will be slashed. Universities in our communities will look more wealthy. They will look more white. They will look more male-dominated. Universities will recruit fewer low-income students, especially little Black girls from zip codes like Compton, and instead want to recruit doctors, or they will not want to recruit doctors, but instead will want hedge fund managers. Colleges won't have the ability to give low-income students a chance because they won't be considered financially safe. The white kid that can afford college, that's majoring in business, will get admitted, while my baby gets a letter of denial. This is how racialized gatekeeping is coded as financial responsibility. And if somehow we do make it through college, we'll have a lifelong burden of debt hanging over our heads. We have money in this country every single day to attack a country of brown people. But we can't afford to send our kids to college. We can't provide them insulin when they need to stay alive. How many more people have to die before we do something about this? How many more wars will be funded before college or housing is guaranteed to those that need it most? How many more families need to go bankrupt because of a broken leg before they admit that this system is violent and that this system is killing us? We are watching, y'all. We are organizing. We are confronting power, even if it tries to hide. We're showing up in mass to town halls, to college universities, on camera, with our bodies and with our voices. If this bill passes, people will die. And we will not be silent. We will not sit by and watch that happen. Kill this bill before it kills someone that you love. Kill this bill before it kills us all. Thanks, y'all, for hearing me out today. I appreciate it.
Thank you, thank you, thank you. You know what, y'all? Medicaid saves lives. Are you with me? Medicaid saves lives. Medicare saves lives. SNAP benefits saves lives. Housing assistance saves lives. Planned Parenthood saves lives. Education saves lives. And our activism saves lives. And now, talking about the value and the impact, we do not live single issue lives. You're right. You're right, Dr. Brooks. Everything is interconnected. whether it's hunger or healthcare or housing or any of the issues that brought you here today, they are integral to our well-being and to our community. And sharing that struggle and making sure that we are deeply engaged and fighting back are allies from across the movement. And the last storyteller I'm going to bring up before our amazing leaders close us out and give us instruction. I am proud to be able to bring to the floor, to the mic, the executive director of the American Association of University Professors. I want to thank you for organizing and repping my alma mater, Rutgers University. Thank you. That's what's up. The awesome, sorry, I was about to say Maya, but I know it's Mia MacGyver. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. It's such an honor to be with you today. It's such an honor to follow that fire that Dr. Brooks just brought and that every other speaker has brought here today, because today represents a solidarity between working people, families, people who go to school, people who use healthcare, educators, people who provide healthcare, and everyone who uses our public services or who works to provide our public services. My name is Mia MacGyver. I'm the executive director of the American Association of University Professors, or AAUP. And throughout this winter and spring, higher education workers have fought back against Donald Trump and Elon Musk's attacks on college teachers, researchers, and students. We have organized and we have mobilized to stop the assault on higher ed and higher education workers. We've taken to the streets. I want you to clap if you've been in the streets this spring. We've taken to the courts. And now it's time to take this fight to Congress. This bill cuts the federal financial aid that students depend on to go to college. This bill will force students and their families to borrow tuition money from private lenders who will defraud and exploit them. This bill will force students to stay indebted for 30 years or their entire lives after they graduate from college. And this bill taxes scholarships and grants, burdening low-income and working-class students. This bill will prevent low-income and working-class students from going to college in the first place, and for many, this bill will put college out of reach. Instead of funding higher education in a way that gives all students opportunities and empowers them to make choices about their lives and careers, this bill will deepen inequality, benefit the wealthy, and leave all the rest of us behind. So, in this country, I want you to clap if you think in this country we need teachers. Do you think we need counselors? Do we need social workers? Do we need nurse practitioners? Do we need physician's assistants? Yet this bill threatens these programs that give the students the foundation they need to enter all of these professions. This is a tragedy, and this is an outrage. This isn't about